Oh, this is a nice fish. Oh yeah, it's a good one. See, we were floating. Whoa, he's hot too. We were just floating that swim jig through there and you saw the bite. It's so fun. And that's the technique of floating a swim jig. It's absolutely killer when fish are a little bit more pressured. So let's get this fish back in the water. Look at the colors on that, dude. Let's get this back in the water and I'll break down floating the mobster swim jig and exactly how you do it. So what is floating a swim jig? That technique that I talked about. It's a technique that keeps the bait, the swim jig, in this case, the mobster swim jig, over that fish's head in and around the strike zone the longest. Why do you do that? A couple different equations or situations where you're going to float a swim jig. Number one is dirty water. When you want that bait as visible and in the strike zone as long as possible, dirty water is a great one. Another one, you've got high pressure, like we have like right now, it's high pressure, and the fish are just not eating like they should be. The longer that that bait stays above them, the more likely they're going to come up and eat it. And that's why you make repetitive casts in the places. So what you're going to do is you're basically gonna make a cast and you're going to keep your rod tip up high, 10, 11 o'clock position. While you do that, you're going to slowly shake that rod tip, slightly shake it. And what that's doing is it's making that jig pulse, and it's not really coming forward, but it's staying up in the water column. And instead of having a lot of forward progression, like if you were just reeling it, you hold it up, what it does is it just hops and it stays over that fish's head and in the cover. And that's what entices the strike. So you can watch it, it's a whole visual presentation. You're watching the jig float above their head, slowly shaking it, and that's what triggers the strike. So looking at line, you can see that I'm throwing fluorocarbon. Typically you swim a jig with braid. When I'm floating it, I like fluorocarbon. And here's the reason why. Fluorocarbon sinks, but it's not like lead. It doesn't sink like really fast. So what this allows me to do is it allows me to make a cast, and then I can watch that jig float, and I get more responsiveness out of fluorocarbon because it's stiffer than braid. So the stiffer that line is, the better that the jig will float above their heads. So that's why I like to use fluorocarbon. So the next time you guys are out swim jig fishing, you've had a good morning, but the bite slows, right? Lighten up the bait, grab a 5/16 Booyah mobster, put you a good Yum craw chunk trailer on there, and float that jig around your cover. It will get you more bites, guaranteed.